Okay, computer, what are we gonna make a video about today? Your choice. And you pick the Q&A notes from nearly a month ago? What are you thinking? What? Yeah, we know about the Cabaret switch. We know about some changes. Oh, you're talking about that quote. Yeah, they have no clue what they're doing about RNCAs or how to balance them. Yeah, let's fix some of the worst tier 10. Let's do that. So while that Q&A specifically focused on the HMS Heavy Cruiser line, in the community tier maker that we recently did, there was 4 other ships that were categorized in the exact same level as the Goliath. The Golden Liu, the Cabarost, the Pietro, and the Zhao. Now, these ships all are in accordance to this, and in many opinions that I've talked to outside of just doing that community tier maker, all of them are just as, if not in worse shape than the Goliath right now. So why don't we go through, I'm going to say what my ideas are for how to fix these ships and just pull them out of that needs love category. Love to know in the comments what your fixes are, whether or not you agree or disagree with me, how you would go about fixing them. I know the Kaba is getting changed out for the Downey soon. I still would hope that maybe it becomes a usable tier 10 premium ship before it changes over or after it changes over, either way. But let's get into my thoughts. Once again, let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are on all these changes and or what your changes would be. Now, first off the bat is the Zhao. Now, if you don't play tier 10, or you haven't played this ship, or maybe even haven't played against this ship because it is quite rare to see them, what are their issues? So, the Zhao line tends to actually be incredibly powerful with the amount of torpedoes and guns that they bring, but they're incredibly matchmaker dependent because the moment you get spotted by a DD or a carrier, pretty much it's game over because you are going to be targeted because you are so spongy. You just absorb shells, absorb those citadels, and you don't really have the health pool to really fight back against that. The main point really being those carriers where these things just get spotted and get systematically taken down by everyone, because especially when you're in a Zhao, you have 12 insanely powerful guns and a lot of torpedoes on you. So you basically are target number 1 because you are a massive DD, and that's how you generally will play these ships. Torp first and then guns later. They are incredibly deadly when they work, but unfortunately they can get shut down stupidly easy. So what are my fixes? One of my basic fixes for this is, better torp angles. The Zhao and the Ibuki and the Miyoko all are plagued by horrible torp angles. You have to basically be launching off your torps while running away in order to get the better angles out of them. The Zhao kind of can help because it kind of can send them forward a little better, but nothing like the Takao can. But I think giving them just a little bit more breath would be a nice quality of life change, allowing you to maybe get more into your turn in order to launch them off, or even in the aft part of your turn in order to launch them in a better time or a better way to run away so you can then sneak away and conceal up. I also want to say increase the AA damage by 15% overall. Basically, when a carrier focuses you, you're barely shooting down any planes. I think the Zhao should actually have pretty decent AA to at least make carriers feel a wince of pain, just a little bit of pain when they are running into a Zhao. It would just kind of give that quality of life to know that you've shot down at least a few planes instead of a carrier just coming in and bombing the crap out of you and basically not experiencing any problem at all. So the Zhao, I think that would be a great simple fix, good quality of life, potentially bring it out of that needs love situation where at least it would be embraced in the niche area. Now, my second fix I think would actually be a little bit more nice and better for this entire line, especially for the Miyoko and up. I think that they should get a stealthy fix. IJN cruisers stealth up 7 seconds faster than any other ship. Now, why 7 seconds? Because 22 seconds is I think the average or the default for how long it takes you to go from being spotted to being unspotted, if you don't shoot any guns or do anything. So I think actually a perfect fix, since these are basically super large DDs, I think they should get the added ability of stealthing up just a little bit quicker, and I think that will allow for specifically this entire Zhao line to get away, even if they are spotted by carriers and hit by them, that it gives them that quick little out to prevent the rest of the team from focusing them down so hard. But I'd love to know how you would fix the Zhao in the comments down below. Next up, we have the Pietro Pavlo. What are its issues? low DPM and absolutely no support skills to back that up. Because of course, if you have one of the lower DPMs at tier 10 for cruisers, but at least you have support skills to help hunt down certain things or help turn the tide of the battle, you can kind of make up for that loss of DPM. Next problem is broken armor. So a problem here is I was explaining it wrong to a lot of people. So in the past, Pietro Pavlo I thought had uniform armor, and that was really the problem, but actually thanks to the CIC website for actually correcting me on this one, which if you haven't seen the website, go down the link down in the description below. Great website for getting all of your World of Warships Blitz and news. But its broken armor is broken because it has too much. When you're at tier 10, you can actually get hit on your bow and stern and get overpens from battleships because they fire there and just pass right through, no damage. But with Pietro, even with you having a small silhouette really deep in the water, you have a lot of armor on your bow and stern, so much so that basically you just get full penned all the time, and you don't have the health to handle that. So you just get focused and die because of your armor. So actually for the fix, number one, basic fix, what I would want to make this, at least in the playable category, is minus 50 millimeters of bow and stern armor, and that would actually match it up with all, if not most, of other cruisers at tier 10. This thing needs an armor nerf in order to really start being able to use its health and everything in order to survive, and then a minus 1 second on reload time. I think that's really all it needs, especially when you take into fact of the legendary module and a legendary commander on it. The Pietro can actually be a pretty decent ship. Now of course with those and this fix, I feel like it would go almost in a good category. I think it would be pushing up there because it would be incredibly powerful. Now, if you didn't exactly want to go out for the reload time and you kind of wanted to change it up and not just be a baby Stalingrad, fix number 2, baby Stalingrad. Let's go over it. Actually, same thing, minus 50% bow and stern armor. That just makes it playable because it can stay alive long enough. But change it up and actually add more precise aims and more rapid reloads, so it can basically spam these abilities. So now, instead of the Stalingrad's just raw firepower and long reload time, just mixing up with a great, just punchy guns, now you have the Pietro, a baby version of it, that has smaller guns, but more based on the skills aspect, more based off of using that and 360-degree turrets, so definitely a good change up. But I would actually add 50%, so make it up to a 200%, it's 150 now, Citadel damage rates, because this thing Citadels a bunch. So now you have a precise, rapid reloading, if I can talk, heavy Citadel damage, 220s, 360-degree turrets, ship. That actually sounds pretty good and pretty fun. So I would prefer fix number 2. Fix number 1's very basic and probably something that they could probably fix and test up within a few hours and see if it exactly helps it and makes it at least a better ship. I think that would be perfect. I think the fix number 2 would actually give it a bit of a niche in this game, and I think would probably, especially once you add in the legendary module and the legendary commander, put Pietro in lines with the Stalingrad, and not just you needing to have a legendary module and a legendary commander in order to make it good, or at least somewhat comparable to Stalingrad. So I'd much rather have Fix 2, gives it a different playstyle, but yet still offers the exact same amount of firepower in a smaller package. Golden Lion and its entire line. Because of the DZP, I believed we had high expectations for this line, because the DZP is really high skill, high reward. Not high risk, high reward, high skill. You play this and you do everything right, it feels good. And you really can start to feel it with this line. You can start to feel it with this line. But the issues. It's incredible low range on its airstrikes and slightly low range on its guns. This means you have to get in close enough to launch an airstrike or get your guns in a great position where they're all hitting incredibly well in order to do a lot of damage to the enemy ships. Unfortunately, by the time that you're within that range, especially with tier 10 meta, you're also within assassination range of most DDs, to which you have no defense over because your airstrikes take forever to reload, and of course, because of that painful reload, you now have this problem of if you miss, and it just takes an enemy a few seconds of just left or right, or just slow down left or right, and they miss. They completely miss. So you miss on your airstrikes, it hurts. But add in that you have no DD defense, you literally have to get close enough to do damage, but you have to make sure you stay far enough away that DDs can't hunt you down so easily. Now, I am absolutely okay with cruisers that don't act like cruisers, because there are DDs that don't act like DDs in this game. I think that that is a viable playstyle in some way or another, but you have to make it rewarding, and this ship line, you should be rewarded. And that's why I just have one single fix for this ship. Increase the main battery gun range. You have 220s and I think like 240 something, some bigger guns on these ships when you get to higher tiers. Give them that longer range to at least somewhat do more damage with their guns. It makes it so that even if a DD comes after them, they can run away and at least have that early work, you know, the early range area to go, okay, I'm shooting at someone, I should probably be pulling away, as I did see a DD in that area, so I can run away, specifically so that if you're like, hey, I need to get in range to do enough damage, the problem is you have to get into that range, which means that other DD on the enemy team could be just intercepting you and just getting ready to annihilate you. So longer main gun battery range would be perfect. Longer airstrike range would be amazing at tier 10. Just giving it that 1.1, so I think it goes out to about 12 kilometer airstrike range. I think that would be perfect because, of course, once again, it's incredibly easy to dodge these airstrikes. So if you play with enough skill, someone might dodge and you can plan for that dodge in order to strike them perfectly. So I think that would be perfect. Give it that just enough barrier. And then, of course, minus 9 seconds on the airstrike reload. That is desperately needed. These ships take way too long to reload their 2 usages. The DZP gets away with it because it has 3 and fairly short reload on it. Where the regular main tech tree line, they're all abhorrently slow. Give them a buff, Wargaming. Especially with how easy it is. Now, when they first came out, people didn't know about it. But now, once you see an airstrike coming at you, you simply just go, once again, right or left, and they miss. They miss. So let's give them the buff now that everyone knows about them, and give them the ability to actually airstrike and hit things on it. Now, I do say maybe auto secondaries or torpedoes for DD defense, but once again, I'm completely fine with a cruiser that doesn't act like a typical cruiser and hunts DDs, similar to I'm okay with the DDs that don't act like DDs. So that's optional. I think auto secondaries would be perfect, so at least gives it a little bit of something. But of course, these ships are completely made up, so torpedoes could be headed just for the okay, fine, if you're going to kill me, I at least can kill you as well situation. So yeah, the Golden Lion needs some love. I would really love it to be that high skill, high reward ship line, but right now it is punished by that range and reload. On to the Khabarovsk. So this ship is being swapped out with the Delny. Hopefully the Delny is good and not in the need love category. We'll have to find out pretty soon. But the Khabarovsk issues. It actually has a low range. Now, I know a lot of people go, it has the longest DD range. The problem is the Khabarovsk doesn't act like a DD. It acts like a light cruiser. So we need to compare it to other light cruisers. Including even the Elbing at this point. But the Khabarovsk has something that many of the other ones either somewhat have or in a roundabout way don't really have. It's incredibly tall. I'll actually put up an image between the Kiev and the Khabarovsk side by side, and you'll notice there's a lot more area to hit on the Khabarovsk. Next up is incredibly short range but powerful torpedoes. Now, that does sound great, but we've seen how the Paulo Emilio handles in this game, and it's not exactly great. So let's make this a little bit better of a, that light cruiser that has super powerful short range torpedoes. I think that's perfectly fine. So the fixes on this are actually kind of, I'd say, pretty easy in that for fix number 1, it just needs to be smaller. Literally lower it in the water a little bit more. And I actually think it'd be just fine. I think that's really the fix that it needs. It just needs to be sunk in the water just a little bit more. That way it can use, albeit it's lower but higher range for DDs, but lower range for light cruisers, in a great way without getting completely and utterly smacked by Christopher Columbos or Venezias or just anything with HE at long range, because at its max range, you can easily land 75%, if not more, of your shots from any ship onto it. It's just that large of a target, and it's not a nimble ship either. So you can't really dodge in it, and you only have one smoke in it, so you're not really evading. So if you make it a little bit smaller, a little bit harder to hit, I think that'd be actually perfect. Or if you want to keep it at its traditional height, and you want to make it a little bit easier and not change up anything else, fix number 2, make it a baby small. Give it another kilometer of main battery range. Just make it ridiculous, especially with that legendary module. Now you have basically the exact same guns that the small ones have, just less of them in a DD package with less smoke. I think that's perfectly a viable option as well. I know a lot of people will want the Khabarovs to be some other ship, give it longer range torpedoes or anything like that. I think they're pretty firm on keeping those short range torpedoes. So I think it's the guns and the sizing of this ship. We could argue for more smokes, but then that kind of bleeds into the Grozavoy and maybe what the Delny's idea will be. I don't know exactly, but overall, I think the Khabarovs make it shorter or give it longer range, and I think it would actually be in a pretty decent place in the meta right now. I'm not going for play or like good. I'm going for niche to playable in my opinion with these. So I'd love to know your comments down below on how you would fix it. Finally, to the Goliath. Let's actually talk about why Wargaming doesn't really know what to do with it, because I actually think it has to do with 2 key critical issues, one of them being a fundamental problem and almost an identity issue. So its issues. It has low range. Goliath is a fire starting ship, so you want to make sure all of your targets within your area that you can shoot are on fire, because you're going to slowly burn them down. It's all about the battle of attrition with the Goliath. Unfortunately, it has a fire rate issue, and this is why I always say there's a fundamental flaw with the Goliath. It is in that nasty spot that basically when you fire your first salvo, and let's say you got 3 fires on the target, right? When your second salvo lands and that person has used their status control kit to repair their fires, you have almost 0 chance, if not no chance, of actually starting a fire on your second salvo. Now, okay, cool, that's fine. Let's go for our third salvo. The problem is that you have now put in almost a 1/12 of your game into just setting 1 permafire. Whereas if you were, let's say, the Nevsky with 6-second reload, now you're talking about literally the moment that heal kit or that repair kit goes off and they no longer have immunity from fires, you are basically hitting them again and getting another chance of fire. This causes this issue where legitimately Goliath players can be at a situation where they are firing on someone. They put a fire on them, that person repairs, they do not get another chance for almost 2 to 3 salvos later before they can set another fire on that target, which is the exact problem of the Goliath. That's the big issue. Now, it does have a huge size issue because, of course, it tries to hide in smoke, which, yeah, it can do that at max range, but once again, it has a low range, so it's incredibly easy to hit within its smoke. But then on top of it, let's say you sit in smoke. By the time that you put your smoke down, fire your first salvo, and you've run out of smoke, unless you have Jellicoe, pretty much you have not set a permanent fire by the time that your smoke runs out, which means you are not burning down the target. That's the whole problem with the Goliath. Alright, how would I fix the Goliath? And this is the easy fix, Wargaming. This is the simple one that just puts it into that playable to niche area, gets it in a good position. Nothing crazy, nothing really extra needed. Fix number 1, minus 1.5 second off main battery reload. This allows it to get more permafires on its target to burn the target down sooner and faster. Else, it also allows for multiple target acquisitions from the Goliath players to make sure, hey, you got a fire, you have this much time on your cooldown and this much time on the cooldown. Okay, fine, I can fire and shoot someone else. Added in with another kilometer of main battery range, you're now talking about someone who can now hit multiple targets and do that multiple fire acquisition that a lot of time the Holland and the Smolenses can do in this game, giving you a bit more time to get that fire damage in order to bump your damage numbers up. I say plus 500 AP damage as well, these are pretty big guns. Let's at least let the AP be a little bit more punchy, in my opinion. I think that would be a perfect all-around. I think this would get the Goliath out of the needs-love category, at least in the playable to niche, depending on the situation. It does still have a huge size issue, and its fire rate isn't perfect, but at least it's much more usable, and the range is more manageable within the classes. Now, how would I fix it? The easy fix is, of course, yeah, you can just do it. That's how it works. To me, it would be a fundamental change to how this entire line is. I would want them to be little pocket battlecruisers. And how would I do that? It's actually remove the smoke and sonar. Oh yeah, remove it. This is no longer a smoke ship. You are going to give this entire line a lower rudder shift time and a lower time to max speed, so that these things are quick and nimble little suckers that use their armor, that actually have pretty decent armor actually, and their mobility to stay alive while having 2 radar 1s at tier 10, plus 2 kilometer main battery range and 4% more damage reduction. So now they are tanky little suckers that turn. Add in, they have the range to use, pretty good HE, pretty good AP, very all-around battlecruiser. We don't actually have a freemium battlecruiser line that actually really works. Yeah, you could kind of go off the Pietro, kind of talk about the Henri, but in my opinion, we don't have that tanky freemium battlecruiser. All of them are premiums. Let's actually allow that playstyle to be. We have enough smoke ships at tier 10. We have plenty of them. We don't need another fat one. The Goliath really just doesn't fit in that meta, and I'd love for it to completely change. And I think going through that entire line, just making them all these tankier, more nimble, slower, of course, just more nimbleness on them, battle cruisers, you could actually have a really fun line to them. And that's my idea. I don't know how exactly everyone would feel about that, but for me, I would much rather actually have a battle cruiser line that can just basically do HE, AP, spot, just maneuver really well, have decent AA, decent armor, great range, and great damage reduction. Be a fun line in my opinion. And those are my changes that I would make, or at least my suggestions to the kind of, I'd say, universally agreed on worst tier 10 ships in this game, and a little bit on their lines as well. But I'd love to know yours in the comments down below. How would exactly you would fix them? Or do you agree or disagree with me? And Wargaming, this is all just trying to help the community embody and put all of our thoughts into one video to try to fix all these ships, because they aren't in great places, and we want them to be in great places. We really do. There are certain parts of these ships, we see the light at the end of the tunnel. We can see how great they could be, how fun they could be, but they just aren't in that state right now. So we're just trying to put our brain power and throw our information, our ideas to you, and we'll see if you take it or not. If, you know, of course, the community can be wrong. We suggest Black Smolensk occasionally and a few other stupid ideas. Finally, if you liked today's video, hit that like button. It really does help out support this channel. Subscribe if you haven't. Notification bell is right there if you ever want to see whenever a new video or stream it goes live. If you want to join up on any of the 4 major streaming platforms, Discord, or any other link, I have one link to rule them all in the link tree down below. Special shout out and thank you to the Patreon members and super chatters for the support. Hope you all enjoyed today's video. Peace.